The origins of democracy in Greece can be traced back to around 508 BCE, when the Athenian leader Cleisthenes introduced a new political system, which is considered the foundation of the democratic system we recognize today. Before Cleisthenes' reforms, most Greek city-states were governed by monarchs, oligarchies, or aristocracies, with power concentrated in the hands of a few. However, Cleisthenes' vision was to give the common people, particularly the citizens of Athens, a more direct role in the governance of the city-state, moving away from the control of a few elites. This was a revolutionary idea at the time, as it introduced concepts of public participation and political equality. Cleisthenes' reforms were aimed at restructuring Athens' political system to provide more inclusive representation for the people, thus marking the beginning of what we now call democracy. His reforms focused on decentralizing power from the aristocracy and allowing a broader section of the population to take part in political decision-making processes. This shift laid the groundwork for a system where citizens, rather than an elite few, could hold political power and influence governmental decisions. Cleisthenes introduced the concept of dividing Athens into local units called demos, which were essentially smaller political subdivisions or districts. These divisions allowed people from various parts of the city-state to interact politically, reducing the influence of aristocratic families who previously dominated politics. This system made it more difficult for powerful families to monopolize the decision-making process, as it ensured that political influence was more evenly distributed across the city-state. The creation of new political districts helped ensure that no single group could claim complete control over the affairs of Athens, providing a more balanced and democratic structure. Cleisthenes' reforms also included the creation of the Boule, a council of 500 members, which was selected by a system of lot rather than by election. This meant that the government was not only representative but also randomly chosen, ensuring that people from different walks of life had the opportunity to be part of the governing body. The Boule's job was to prepare decisions for the larger Ekklesia, or assembly, which was composed of all eligible citizens. This was one of the first instances of direct democratic participation in government, where ordinary citizens could debate and vote on important matters such as war, alliances, and laws. One of the key features of Cleisthenes' reforms was the establishment of the Ekklesia, the central assembly of citizens. Unlike modern representative systems, where elected officials make decisions on behalf of the people, the Ekklesia allowed citizens to participate directly in the decision-making process. Every citizen was allowed to attend the assembly, participate in discussions, and vote on policies. This made Athens one of the first political entities to experiment with direct democracy, where the people themselves had an active role in the decisions that governed their lives. Cleisthenes' reforms also introduced the election of government officials through a process known as sortition. While some positions, such as military generals, were elected by popular vote, many others were assigned through random selection, or sortition, to ensure that positions were accessible to all eligible citizens, not just the wealthy or well-connected. This was a significant step in democratizing Athens because it minimized the influence of wealth and social status on political participation. Citizens could be selected to serve in a variety of important political offices, and the idea was that this would prevent the concentration of power in the hands of a few elites. At the time, only free adult male citizens were allowed to participate in the democratic process. Women, slaves, and foreigners living in Athens were excluded from political participation. This limitation, while a step forward in terms of political inclusivity for men, means that Athenian democracy was far from universal by today's standards. Nevertheless, the system was groundbreaking in its time, as it laid the foundations for the development of political equality, even though it was restricted to a particular segment of society. Cleisthenes' reforms did not simply create a democratic government, they also reshaped the culture and identity of Athens. They instilled a sense of civic duty and pride among the citizens, who were now responsible for making decisions that affected the future of their city-state. Political participation became a key part of Athenian identity, and the citizens' direct involvement in governance was viewed as an important civic duty. While Cleisthenes' reforms marked the beginning of Athenian democracy, it did not guarantee its long-term stability. The Athenian political system faced numerous challenges over the centuries, including wars, internal strife, and the rise of demagogues who sought to manipulate the democratic system for their own gain. Nevertheless, the democratic principles introduced by Cleisthenes had a profound and lasting influence on the development of democracy, both in ancient Greece and in later Western political thought. Cleisthenes' vision of democracy, though imperfect, set the stage for future developments in political philosophy and governance. His reforms represented an early and significant attempt to balance political power and ensure that citizens had a voice in the direction of their government. This early experiment in democracy would go on to inspire the democratic systems of modern times, highlighting the importance of citizen participation, equality before the law, and the accountability of public officials.